I used to think the worst feeling in the world was being laughed at. Turns out, it's being laughed at by the people you call family. My name is Talia. And if you ask my family, they'll probably still tell you I'm a gold digger. Even now. Even after everything. But this is my story, not theirs. I was the middle child of 3. My older brother Jeremy was the golden boy varsity everything, honor roll, charming enough to sell sand in a desert. My younger sister Corley was the baby sweet obedient, the mirror image of our mother in both looks and manners. Then there was me. Talia, the mistake in the middle. Not athletic, not obedient, not particularly charming. I liked books more than gossip, side hustles more than makeup tutorials, and ambition more than relationships. But my family never saw that. They only saw one thing. I like men with money. And from that, they drew a conclusion I never escaped. They called me a gold digger. Every boyfriend I had, whether a guy who worked at a startup or a bartender, with dreams they somehow twisted it. He's probably paying her bills. Maybe she finally brings someone useful to the table. That table. God, I hated that dining table. It was where most of my shame began. It was at my mom's 60th birthday party. A grand dinner at an overpriced restaurant downtown. White tablecloths, crystal glasses, and a family dressed like royalty. Except me. I wore a simple, elegant black dress I'd bought secondhand online. As we raised our glasses to toast, my uncle joked, "So Talia, who's the lucky millionaire this time?" The table erupted in laughter. I smiled politely, but my hand clenched. The stem of my glass. My mother chimed in, "Oh, leave her be, Harold. She's probably on to the next one already. That's her thing." Her thing. As if digging for gold in other people's pockets was my hobby. I excused myself, quietly walked out into the parking lot, and drove off. No tears. Not that night. That came later, in my apartment, where the paint peeled off the corners and the heating barely worked in winter. I sat on the floor in silence for a long time. I didn't cry from hurt. I cried because I realized if they thought I was worthless, no amount of proving myself would ever be enough. That night, I made myself a silent promise. I would never ask them for anything again. Not money, not help, not approval. I would become so successful they would choke on their own words. And when they came knocking, I'd smile and lock the door. But success doesn't come in a box. It doesn't knock politely and say, "Your time, ma'am." It comes in gut punches and sleepless nights. I worked 3 jobs: barista by morning, receptionist by afternoon, delivery driver by night. I used my breaks to teach myself coding and personal finance. Every night, I'd collapse into bed with stiff legs and a mind full of numbers. I missed birthdays. I missed dates. I missed my sister's engagement dinner. I was the too busy one. But no one ever asked why. 2 years passed before I had the courage to test an idea. I'd been obsessing over an app that simplified financial literacy for women. It wasn't flashy. It didn't promise millions in crypto or some shady pyramid scheme. It offered budgeting help, savings plans, investment tutorials, all in plain language with short, relatable videos. I called it Pennywise. It cost me nearly everything I had left to launch a beta version. I begged a few old friends to share it. A week went by. Nothing. A month. Crickets. I started to think maybe they were right. Maybe I really was chasing something that didn't exist. And then, one night, I got an email. It was from Jules Marino, a wellness influencer with 4 million followers. She'd stumbled on Pennywise, loved the message, and featured it in her tools I actually use Instagram story. By morning, the app had 12,000 downloads. By the end of the week, it was trending. Within a month, investors started calling. Suddenly, people wanted to partner, advertise, acquire. I cried in the same corner of my apartment floor, but this time, in disbelief. That peeling paint wall never looked so beautiful. The money came slowly at first, then all at once. Within 6 months, I had a team, an office, and most importantly, freedom. I didn't buy a mansion. I didn't flaunt diamonds. But I paid off every debt I'd ever had. And I walked into a dealership and bought a hybrid SUV, cash up front. The same day I bought that car, I passed my parents' house on the way home. I hadn't seen them in over a year. On impulse, I pulled over and just stared at the front door. Should I go in? Should I tell them? Should I forgive them? Then I remembered that dinner table. The laughing. The cruel jokes wrapped in wine glasses. I turned the key and drove away. But fate doesn't like to stay quiet. Because 2 weeks later, I got a message from my sister Corley. Hey stranger. Heard your app's doing big things. So proud of you. Want to grab lunch? I stared at the message. Pride. From the same girl who once said, I just don't want to end up like you after I got laid off. Still, I said yes. We met at a rooftop cafe. She hugged me like we were best friends. Complimented my hair, my dress, my purse. Oh my God, this bag is SOU. She gushed. I wanted to laugh. The bag was a freebie from a conference. But I just smiled. Over kale salad and overpriced sparkling water, she gushed about her new business venture. Some skincare MLM with a name I couldn't pronounce. She casually asked if I wanted to invest. I nearly choked. That's when I realized she wasn't here to catch up. She was here to cash in. And if Corley was calling, the others wouldn't be far behind. I was right. Within days, Jeremy emailed me, asking for a quick chat about your expansion plans, just as siblings. My mom called twice. I let it ring. Both times. My dad even left a voicemail. That was new. They wanted a piece of the gold mine they once said I'd never find. And that's when the real revenge began. Asterisk, I'd always believed the sweetest revenge was success. But now I understood it's not just about rising. It's about rising in a way they can't reach. When I was younger, I thought karma meant watching people fall. But true karma? It's watching them beg at the gates you built and telling them politely, it's by invitation only. So I started planning, not because I was bitter, not because I wanted to ruin them. No, because I needed closure. I needed them to taste what they served me for years. Exclusion, mockery, and entitlement dressed as concern. After my reunion lunch with Corley, I waited exactly 1 week before replying to my brother Jeremy's email. Would love to connect. I typed, let's talk opportunities. I kept the tone light. Professional. Like I was inviting him into something big. He replied in 10 minutes. Absolutely. Heard you're doing incredible things. So proud, sis. That word. Sis. He hadn't called me that in over 3 years. We scheduled a video call. When his face popped up on screen, he looked slightly overdressed, as if trying to impress a venture capitalist. Talia, he grinned. Look at you. I always knew you had it in you. No, you didn't, I said flatly. But thanks. He cleared his throat. Right. Well, listen, I've been doing some small investing lately. Tech spaces mostly. If you're looking to scale, I've got some people. And funds. I sipped my tea slowly. Actually, that's not why I reached out. I've been working on something new. An exclusive investor opportunity. But only for family. His eyes lit up. Oh, he said eagerly. I nodded. Think. Legacy fund. A side platform under Pennywise. Quiet rollout. I wanted to offer you, Corley, and Mom and Dad a chance to get in on the ground floor. It's my way of giving back. He looked like he'd just won a lottery. Wow. Talia, that's incredibly generous. I'm in. Just say the word. I smiled. There's a formal email. It basically states that once you opt in, you forfeit any future claims or rights to Pennywise itself. Just a legal technicality to keep everything clean. And in return, you get in on the new fund. Think of it as symbolic ... like starting fresh. He didn't even blink. Sounds good. The next day, Corley got the same call. She played coy at first. I don't know. I'd have to look it over ... Of course, I said. Take your time. But there's only room for 4 of you. Deadline's Friday. She signed by Thursday afternoon. My parents were the hardest to reach. But eventually, my mother returned one of my calls. She sounded ... cautious. Well, she said, I suppose we could hear you out. Though we weren't sure if we were still. Family in your eyes. I ignored the bait. I'm inviting all of you into something legacy-oriented. It's a chance to rebuild. I'm not the same girl you once knew. She sniffed like she'd just walked past something unpleasant. Clearly. But pride couldn't resist money. She asked for the form. I sent it. They all signed. That document, drafted carefully by my lawyer, did exactly what I said. It waived all rights to equity, future inheritance, and advisory roles in Pennywise or any affiliated brands. And in exchange, it granted them SARRES in a fake holding company I set up, Golden Haze Ventures. A name that sounded real but did nothing. By the time they realized it, it would be too late. You might think that was cruel. But here's what you don't know. When I was 21, my parents drained my college fund to cover Callie's tuition because she had a real shot at something. I never saw a cent again. When I was laid off from my first real job, I asked them for a short-term loan just to cover rent. My mother replied, We're not a bank. Maybe ask your boyfriend. When Jeremy got into legal trouble with an ex, they used my name and credit score to bail him out without asking. I only found out when I got a call from a collections agency. Asterisk. And through it all, they smiled in my face and told everyone I was figuring things out, while calling me a leech behind my back. So no, it wasn't cruel. It was justice dressed in a gold-plated envelope. 3 weeks later, the headlines hit. Pennywise raises $12 million in Series B funding. Founder Talia Rhodes named one of top 30 women in tech. Suddenly, I wasn't just successful, I was newsworthy. The next day, my family group chat lit up. For the first time in years. Congrats, sweetie. So proud of you. Incredible, our girl's famous. Always knew you had that fire in you. I didn't reply. Instead, I posted one statement to Instagram. Built from the ground up. Without a cent from anyone. For every girl who was underestimated, misunderstood, and mislabeled, keep building. You owe them nothing. It went viral. And the next day, I received a text from my mother. What is this post supposed to mean? I didn't respond. I didn't need to. They were finally feeling what I had lived through for years: confusion, disapproval, exclusion. But the real satisfaction came when Golden Haze Ventures finally reported back. As planned, I sent them a beautifully designed quarterly report filled with vague buzzwords, promising returns in the next 7 to 10 years. Just enough to keep them hanging. Just enough to make them brag. Because I knew my mother would. Boast about her stake in my success to the garden club. Jeremy would name-drop me to his old college friends. Corley would probably film a video about how to manifest abundance with my sister's company. Let them all swim. In the illusion of inclusion. Meanwhile, I bought a brownstone in the city. Nothing flashy. Just clean lines, a sunlit workspace, and a view that made me feel like I had finally made it. I invited a few close friends over for dinner. Real friends. The ones who didn't laugh when I was broke or silent when I was drowning. As we toasted. With wine on the rooftop, one of them asked, "Are you ever going to forgive them?" I thought about that for a long time. Forgiveness, I've learned, doesn't mean inviting people back into your life. Sometimes it just means letting go of the part of you that still craves their apology. I looked up at the stars and whispered, "I already have." Asterisk, asterisk. Just when I thought they'd stay quietly in their fantasy investment bubble, Jeremy decided to remind me exactly why I never trusted them in the first place. It started with a podcast. He launched one, of course he did, called Bloodlines and Business. It was supposed to be a motivational podcast about leveraging family legacies into success. He listed himself as an angel investor and startup consultant. I nearly choked on my coffee when I read the bio. I wouldn't have even known about it if a friend hadn't sent me a clip. In the video, Jeremy sat in front of a fake marble wall, wearing a blazer 2 sizes too tight, talking into a gold microphone, like he was Silicon Valley royalty. "So yeah," he said casually, "my sister Talia Rhodes, you may have seen her at Pennywise, it's kind of blowing up right now. Yeah, we're close. We've always talked about ideas, and I gave her some early advice. Encouraged her to go big." I paused the video. Encouraged me? This was the same man who, when I told him about my idea years ago, said, "People don't want boring budget apps, Talia. Go marry someone rich instead." I didn't reply to him. I didn't call. I didn't text. But I did send the clip to my lawyer. The next day, a formal cease and desist letter went out with a clean heading: Misrepresentation of business involvement and intellectual property affiliation. By the time Jeremy received it, the episode had already gone semi-viral, thanks to the popularity of my name, not his. He called me 5 times. I didn't answer. Then I got the message. "Talia, seriously? I was just trying to give you some PR. You're being way too sensitive." I stared at it. That was Jeremy in a sentence. To damage, deny it, and spin it like a favor. But this time, it didn't work. Because my legal team didn't just send that letter quietly. They also submitted formal takedown requests to Spotify, YouTube, and Apple. PODCASTS. By the end of the week, Bloodlines and Business was gone, but no announcement. No drama. Just a digital void where his little fantasy platform used to be. That was my favorite kind of revenge clean. Cold and quiet. But he wasn't done. He showed up. Not at my apartment, he didn't know where I lived, but at a tech summit where I was speaking on a panel. I was backstage, going over my notes, when one of the interns told me, "There's someone here asking if he can get a minute with you. Says he's your brother." I froze. Part of me wanted to see him just to witness the desperation, but the smarter part of me knew better. I looked at the intern and said, "Tell him I'm preparing for press and not available." She nodded and walked off. Minutes later, I went on stage in a navy blue power suit. My hair pulled back, my voice steady. I sat among founders, CEOs, and global speakers. Not once did I look into the crowd to find him. When the panel ended, I received a bouquet of flowers in the green room. There was no name, just a card that read, "Blood is thicker than paperwork." I tore it in half. Blood might be thick, but loyalty is rare. And they had never been loyal to me. Not once. That week, I had dinner with my mentor, Elisa Brilliant, VC who'd believed in me before I even hit 10,000 users. She sipped her wine and said, "Your brother's podcast stunt. That was his way of trying to leech from your spotlight. He sees you as an elevator, not a sibling. I nodded. I know. And your family? She asked. Still invested, I said with a smirk, in a dream that doesn't exist. She laughed. You're cold. No, I replied. I'm careful. But Jeremy wasn't the only one who wanted a piece of my glow. My mother invited me to dinner. An actual sit-down family dinner at the house I once called home. She sent me a long, formal message. Let's put the past behind us. Come home, Talia. We want to celebrate you properly. Properly. That word hung in my mind. What did proper even mean in a house that once made me feel like a shadow? Still, curiosity pulled at me. I accepted. I arrived in a sleek champagne-colored dress, nothing flashy, but definitely expensive. I brought a bottle of real wine, this time no bargain bin labels. The house hadn't changed much. Same floral couches. Same judgmental silence hanging in the air. They had a table set for $5. My dad pulled out a chair, like he was hosting a charity gala. My mother beamed like a politician's wife. Corley wore pearls. Jeremy looked exhausted, though he tried to. Hide it. We ate. Small talk. Fake laughter. A few awkward compliments about my glow and new style. And then it came. Sweetheart, my mother said, now that you've found your way, we were thinking maybe it's time to bring the family in a bit more formally. Legacy-wise. Jeremy jumped in. Like a board seat. Or even just some advisory rights. I mean, we were part of the journey. I set my wine glass down carefully. You're already part of something, I said. They nodded eagerly. Then I smiled. Golden Haze. You're in it. Locked in legally. They glanced at each other. But Golden Haze hasn't done anything yet, Jeremy said slowly. It has, I said. It gave you hope. That's valuable. My mother's smile faltered. Are you saying that's all it is? I leaned forward, elbows on the table, and looked each of them in the eye. No, I'm saying that's all it ever was. Silence. Thick and sharp. I stood up, smoothed my dress, picked up my purse. Thank you for dinner. Corley blinked. You're leaving? Yes, I said. And before you ask me to reconsider anything, I won't. You signed away everything because you thought I was still desperate for validation. I'm not. I never was. I just needed you to believe in something you couldn't touch. My father stood. Talia, don't do this. I turned to him. You already did. And then I walked out. No slamming doors. No dramatic exits. Just the soft click of heels on hardwood, and a life I'd built without any of them in it. That night, I went home, lit a candle, and opened the window. The air felt cleaner than it ever had, not because they were gone, but because I finally, truly was. Asterisk. I thought that would be the end of it. I truly did. That final dinner. That quiet, dignified closure, I had given them a graceful exit. They could have walked away, swallowed their pride, and disappeared into their lives, still believing they were part of something golden. But the thing about entitled people is, they never know when to stop reaching. 2 months later, my lawyer called me in the middle of a meeting. Talia, she said, calm but firm. You've been served. For a moment, I didn't say anything. My mind ran through the usual suspects press, copycats, maybe an NDA slip from a new hire. But it wasn't any of that. It was Jeremy. He'd filed a lawsuit claiming I'd misled him into signing away his rightful stake in Pennywise. He accused me of fraudulent misrepresentation, breach of verbal contract, and my personal favorite, family deception in pursuit of profit. That last one wasn't even a real legal term. But he'd written a statement so dramatic. It read, "Like a rejected screenplay. My lawyer sighed. It's weak, laughable honestly, but we have to respond." I nodded slowly, feeling that strange, hollow throb in my chest. Not fear, not anger, just disappointment. He was really going to drag this into court. The press got wind of it quickly. You can't have a rising female founder and a lawsuit filed by her own brother and not expect it to go viral. Was asked for comment by no less than 15 outlets. I said nothing. Silence, after all, is louder when you're on the right side of power. But Jeremy wasn't done. He started talking to the media, spun a sob story about how I'd used his encouragement, cut him out, and stripped their family of legacy wealth. Suddenly, he was the victim of a ruthless tech mogul. He was on podcasts again, small, fringe ones this time. YouTube videos with clickbait titles, like, "Brother betrayed by billionaire sister," "Gold digger or gaslighted genius." The comments were a mess. Half of them dragged me through the mud. The other half saw through the act. And then came the twist I didn't see coming. At our first court hearing, Jeremy showed up wearing a three-piece suit and a fake grin. His lawyer, a greasy, overconfident man named Curtis, stood beside him, clearly ready to make headlines. But my team? My team came armed. Because a week earlier, we had uncovered something he forgot about. Receipts, emails, screenshots, voice notes, all from Jeremy trying to sell Golden Haze Ventures shares privately to 2 investors. He had created a pitch deck, falsely claiming it was the holding company for Pennywise's crypto pivot. He'd quoted fake ROI percentages, bragged about his insider status, and asked for capital in exchange for pre-IPO equity. He wasn't just lying, he was committing investment fraud. Let my lawyer handle the delivery. When Curtis confidently opened the session by accusing me of manipulation and bad faith, my attorney stood up with a calm, practiced voice and said, "Your Honor, we would like to submit digital evidence that directly contradicts the plaintiff's claims of ignorance and good intent. What you're about to see includes falsified investment pitches, unauthorized use of company branding, and what may constitute investor deception under state and federal statutes." The judge raised an eyebrow. Within minutes, Jeremy's face went pale. His lawyer tried to object, but the damage was done. Screenshots flashed across the court monitor's emails. DMs, even a voicemail where Jeremy promised a fake investor, "I'll get you in under the table before my sister makes it public." The courtroom was quiet except for the clicking of phones, as journalists typed furiously into their devices. The judge looked over his glasses and said, "Mr. Rhodes, you do understand what you've just exposed yourself to?" Jeremy opened his mouth but nothing came out. The judge dismissed the case immediately, with prejudice. Translation: not only did Jeremy lose, he could never bring this complaint again. Outside the courtroom, cameras waited, reporters swarmed. I paused only once, turned to them, and said, "Let this be a reminder when you try to steal what you didn't build. You'll always collapse under the weight of your own lies." The quote trended on X that afternoon. By evening, Pennywise saw a 40% spike in downloads. By the end of the week, we closed another round of funding, $5 million from an equity firm that called me the most disciplined brand architect of the year. I didn't celebrate with champagne. I didn't throw a party. Instead, I booked a week in the mountains. No phone, no internet, just the sky and silence. There, in a glass cabin surrounded by trees, I wrote the final chapter of my personal journal from the last 5 years. I wrote about failure and shame, and the loneliness of having to believe in yourself when no one else does. And then I wrote one last sentence. I am no longer chasing validation. I am building legacy. And that's the thing, isn't it? They thought they could define me. They thought their laughter and labels would shape my story. But they didn't realize I wasn't digging for gold. I was building it, brick by glittering brick. And by the time they came crawling for a piece, the gates were already sealed. Asterisk, asterisk. It's funny, really, how silence can feel louder than applause. After everything, after the public trial, the headlines, the victory, I found myself craving nothing but quiet. Not to plan my next move, not to gloat, not even to celebrate. I just wanted to breathe without looking over my shoulder. So I moved. Not out of fear, but out of freedom. I bought a quiet home by the coast. Glass windows that stretched from floor to ceiling. Soft waves that whispered at night. No paparazzi. No noise. No reminders of who I used to be. I kept running pennywise, of course, but I scaled back. Handed off the day-to-day to my executive team. Focused on mentoring, on writing, on building what truly mattered. Legacy doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes it's a seed planted quietly in the right soil. And still, they tried. Corley emailed me 2 months after the court case. I didn't know Jeremy was doing that. Please don't think I'm the same. I didn't reply. My mother sent a birthday card. The kind she used to buy from gas stations. Inside was a single sentence. Family is still family. I didn't respond to that either. Because that's the truth, isn't it? Family is still family. But not everyone in your family is your people. And some people are just strangers who know your history. I let the past live where it belonged, behind me. But there was one last thing I needed to do. A few weeks after settling into my new home, I contacted a non-profit I'd quietly supported for years, an organization that helped young women escape toxic households and start their own businesses. I made a donation large enough to cover rent stipends, training, seed funding, and therapy. Services for over 300 girls. And I asked for one thing in return. A plaque, not for recognition. But for closure. It reads, in honor of every girl told she was reaching too high. Keep reaching. TR. No full name. Just initials, because I didn't need the world to know. I just needed to leave a mark where it mattered. One day, a young woman will walk past that plaque and realize her story doesn't have to end in the same room it started. And maybe she remember a time someone tried to clip her wings and feel them stretch anyway. As for my family, I heard Jeremy took a job at a mid-tier tech firm under someone 20 years younger. My mother spends most days on Facebook, posting filtered photos and vaguely spiritual quotes about blessings returning. Corley launched a YouTube channel on manifesting abundance. It hasn't quite taken off, but the background of her videos always shows a gold-colored book on the shelf. Pennywise. The founder's memoir. She never credits me. But that's fine. They can borrow the image all they want. Because the real thing, they'll never touch it. I sometimes get asked if I'd ever go back. Visit. Reconnect. I always give the same answer. I'm not angry anymore. But I'm not returning to a room I had to crawl out of just to breathe. Forgiveness doesn't always mean reunion. Sometimes, it's just choosing peace over proof. I didn't need to prove anything to them anymore. Because in the end, they were wrong about me. I wasn't a gold digger. I was gold. Buried. Pressured. By fire. And now I shine on my own. Asterisk, asterisk, thanks for watching. Hoped you liked it. If you watched till the end, please comment gold, so that we could understand you were with us till the end. As well as, please let us know, where are you watching from? What do you want to hear from us in next video? If you have any incident in your life, please let us know. We would love to share your story. *******